out ko kayo. Wait lang. Okay, kita na ulit. Okay, let's start. Get your ball pen, get your notebook. If you have the previous notes, now bring out your notes and you take down notes, additional notes, and whatever I discussed today. Keep your camera on, kita ko pa rin kayo. Okay, good afternoon. So this afternoon, we'll be talking about pre-anesthetic evaluation. So we move this topic that's supposed to be during the midterms, no? And the partner of this in the laboratory is the GPA, no? Or your General Patient Assessment. Okay, so as we go on with the lecture, okay, we will be discussing on how to answer your GPA. And please take note of the mistakes, no, that you did, in order for you to do the necessary corrections in the future. Okay, so I wasn't very strict with the GPA as long as the important information in preparation for your anesthesia induction on the actual patient, no, are there. But please take note of the mistakes, no, that you did. Okay, so there is a relationship between medicine and dentistry, and I always mention this, that you will be doctors now in the future, not only of the teeth, but of course of the oral medicine. And you always look at the patient medically, okay? Because anything that we introduce or any procedures that we perform can have an effect systemically. So our LA solutions, even if you inject it locally, but once it enters the body, it can go into the circulation of the patient and can produce effects other than what we are goaling, which is your local anesthesia. Okay. So what is the relationship of medicine and dentistry? And what's the importance of this in our dental practice? So there are advances in medicine and science. And because of these advances, it makes our patient live longer. Diba? That's why if you're going to look at the age, no, of the patient, geriatric patient, they can live up to 70, 80 years of age because of these advances in the management of medical conditions. Okay? So just like if the patient has damaged heart valves, now they are being surgically replaced. When there is occlusion of the coronary arteries, no, wherein blood circulation is compromised, then they can insert something to open that arteries and would have a better circulation afterwards, no, surgically or with the use of stent or balloons. Okay, so organs, if there would be failure, may be transplanted from other patients. Okay, and severe hypertension can be managed, no, medically as well as pharmacologically, and even malignancies systemically in other parts of the body and immune deficiencies just like AIDS or HIV. Patients tend to live longer also because of the advances, no, in their management. Okay, so what is this? What's the effect of this to our dental practice? So we have more patients, whether they are younger or geriatric, that are medically compromised. And you should be ready in assessing your patient. That's why we do the GPA, the medical history taking, so that we can select our patients. If you can do it or not, then you refer, correct? So aside from patients being with chronic conditions, medical conditions, then we also deal with geriatric patients because they live long, correct? So many disorders would necessitate alterations in the provision of dental treatment. Okay, so as what we've mentioned earlier this morning, oral prophylaxis is not just simple cleaning of the teeth, di ba? So you have to identify who are these patients that would need pre-operative preparation before you do your oral prophylaxis. Okay. So we diagnose our patients. Okay. So what are the process or the steps included in the diagnostic process? We evaluate the physical status of the patient. Okay. We get the history taking. We take the medical history. We take the dental history, family history, psychosocial history, which we will discuss one by one later. Okay. Sometimes we do, or not sometimes, but ideally we do it by review of systems, no? Cardiovascular system, respiratory system, hematologic system. So you can design your history taking and patient's assessment, no, systematically, no, by following the different systems in the body. Okay. Another thing is we can use diagnostic tools. So dentists can also request class for laboratory exams. So if you want to verify, like for example, if the patient is diabetic, if you want to verify if the patient has control, aside from being cleared by the medical doctor, but at the time of your procedure, you can request for the blood sugar level. Pwede yun, no? So you can also request for blood parameters, complete blood count. You can request for bleeding time, clotting time. So anything that you think, no, would help you decide on what preparation and what modification of management you might do, then you can request for this laboratory test. So again, not only medical doctors, but dentists can also request for these lab exams. Okay? And of course, we seek medical consultation. We write referral letters to our medical counterpart if we find the need to do so. Okay, so why do we do history taking? So our goal in doing this is to be able to identify what systemic disease our patient has. No? And if they have, then what modifications in our dental treatment would be necessary. Another one, we want to identify also if that systemic disease can be a threat, no, to our dental personnel or even other patients. Like for example, COVID. Yeah? So just recently, a few years back, 2020, then we were able to encounter this very infectious, no, viral disease wherein it can pose a threat to the health of to us and even our dental personnel. So we have to be very careful in identifying. And up to now, class, as part of our protocol in the dental wellness center, your patients, no, they still need to answer the health assessment form. Meron pa rin questionnaire in order to identify who are these patients, particularly of the COVID. We still have COVID, no, but of course not as severe than before, but it's still part of our protocol. Okay. Part also of our history taking is to know the medications the patient used to take or currently taking. And with this one, sometimes the patient doesn't know what systemic condition they have, but by knowing what medication they are taking, then more or less we have an idea what the patient has. And if we need to do our prescription or pharmacologic approach, then we can better choose, no, what medicine to give in order not to cause drug interaction. Okay. And when you interview the patient, right, then at the same time, you are building rapport. Diba? You build relationship with the patient because it's very difficult to be treating patients who are not in confidence with you. Diba? So, kailangan marunong kang makipag-usap din sa pasyente. And any questions that they have, then you should be able to satisfy them. It's not all the time that you do what they want because you are still the doctor. Diba? You give your suggestions, you give them options. and still the decision will still be theirs. But if you do not agree with their decision, you are not obliged to do it. You can always refer to the patient if you are not in agreement with what the patient would want to have. Okay? Next. Yan. So, facilitation of effective communication with the patient's physician. So, as what we've said, some of our patients may be under physician's care because of their conditions, right? And by asking the history of it, and even by getting the specific name of the doctor, so you can personalize the referral letter in order for you to really communicate and get whatever medical concerns the patient has na hindi niya alam, hindi niya ma-explain. Okay? And lastly, your GPA class, your patient's form, serves as a medico-legal protection for us. Kaya nga, you should be very strict. Some of you, I'm very satisfied, no? I don't know, most of you is just the first time to do it, pero some of you, it seems like they've been doing it for many times already. Magandang gumawa, kompleto. Okay? Yung iba naman, NA. Yung pa yung wala pa siyang medical condition, wala pa siyang family. Walang NA, no? Sabi ko, yan yung kung ano yung, kung wala, then you write no medical concerns, not NA na not applicable. Okay, so anything that you write there, it means you did it. Anything that is not written there, it means you didn't do it. Like for example, if something happens to the patient post-operatively, di ba? So you did your surgery, you did your extraction. Tapos complication arise, like infection. And then you said, you did your prescription writing of amoxicillin, blah, 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 blah. Correct? So verbally, you are saying that you gave antibiotics to the patient before dismissing. But when you look at the progress notes, it's not written there. So medical legal wise, then what is written will be the supporting document for you. And if you do not write it down, wala kang laban. Okay? Okay, let's go to the medical history. So the medical history would include a review of the past and present illnesses. Not only of the present, but also the past. Sabi nga natin, if it's the first time that you interview the patient, then your question should be since birth. Okay? Since birth. Not 6 months before or 3 months before. Because it's the first time that you are creating a record for that particular patient. So it has to be complete and thorough. Okay, you do your review of systems and you ask for the medications, whether it be prescription or non-prescription or over-the-counter. So you write it down. So there are times that we are not also familiar with what they have. Then you can ask the patient to show you the medicine that they are taking and you document it. Okay, what are the 4 important questions to ask when you are getting the medical history? Number 1, are you or have you been seeing a doctor? Okay, when, why, what, etc. Right, so are you now or have you been before seeing a doctor? Okay, number 2, are you taking any medications? Number 3, have you had any illnesses or operations? Nagkaroon ba siya ng surgical procedures? Did the patient have blood transfusion? Right? Nag-dengue pa yan? Bumaba ba yung platelet count to the point that blood transfusion si patient? So you write it down. If you can get the time period of when the patient had been hospitalized or had the disease, then you write it down also. And the most important thing, class, is asking the patient, how do you feel today? Okay, so let's take for example, your patient is hypertensive. hypertension. And then you refer the patient for management of elevated blood pressure. And then you got clearance. So the patient will return with a medical clearance, written yun ha, and then saying that the patient may undergo tooth extraction. So meaning cleared sa patient. But at the time of your consultation or supposed to be the day of your extraction, based on your vital signs taking, ang taas ng blood pressure niya. Diba? 200 over 100. Hindi natin, di ba? Kasi napagod, nanenervyos, di ba? So, nag-shoot up yung kanyang blood pressure. Do, clear naman ako. Hindi pa rin. Kahit na-clear ka kahapon or nung isang araw, basta you are not okay today because of your blood pressure, then don't do the patient. Okay? So, ask the patient, how are you feeling today? And decide if you need or if you can push through with your dental procedure or you can reschedule. Baka bukas, mas maganda na yung BP niyo. You appoint the patient early morning, first patient, well rested, baka you can get a better blood pressure. You get it? Okay. So, these are the information that you want to get. Diba? So, if the patient's under physician's care, usually it's a team, no? Multiple medical conditions, you get the name or even the specialization would be enough. Okay? So that you know to whom you are referring the patient to. Okay? So if the patient, let's take for example, psychologically is not stable, taking medications. So syempre, doon mo siya i-refer sa psychiatrist. So if the patient has diabetes, then you refer the patient to endocrinologist. Heart condition, you refer the patient to cardio. If the patient is a pediatric patient, then you refer the patient to the pediatric doctor. Right? So knowing information about the physician, right, would also help you with your referrals. Okay, when was the last physical exam? What was the result of the physical exam? Nature and status of current condition, okay, other physicians, past illnesses and hospitalizations, and the medication history. So same thing, no? Okay, so we said, if it's the first time that you are seeing the patient, then ask since birth. Okay, but this one should be updated. Your medical history should be updated on a regular basis, approximately every 3 to 6 months or after any prolonged lapse in treatment. So let's take, for example, you're done with the patient. You've done your up to installation of your prosto dentures. So, syempre, patient will not come back to you anymore. And the next visit would be for the regular cleaning, regular checkup, and that would be 6 months after. 3 to 6 months of not seeing the patient, then you update the record. Kasi pwedeng merong mangyaring medical concerns for that time period. Get it? So you update your GPA, whether it be medical or dental, sa iba nagpuntang dentista, then you update also every 3 to 6 months. Okay. So written record of updated history, you don't need to get another GPA. You can just add a page or you can just write the updated information on the progress notes. I mentioned how to update your progress notes. So it should be running. So you write the date of the next visit of the visit, updated visit, and then you write the medical updates, dental updates on the progress notes. Okay? So with significant change in the patient's health status, the entire history should be redone. Kung major yung kanyang operation, any changes, then you can repeat or you can get another one. But if not naman, just write it on the progress notes. Okay. It should be written in ink. So some of you use pencil. So sige na lang, acceptable na lang din. Pero remember, this is a medical legal document, and the ink that you should use that is acceptable as a legal document is either black or blue. Acceptable yun. Kung light blue, hindi pwede. Kung pink, kasi favorite mo ang pink, hindi rin siya pwede. Kung red, hindi rin siya acceptable. Okay, so let's stick with the acceptable color of the ink for a medical legal document. Okay, corrections. Doc, nagkamali ako. Okay, you do not use your correction pen or correction tape in order to erase your mistakes. Instead, you draw a line over the word or words or sentence that you want to correct. Isang line lang sa ibabaw. And then you place your initial, signan nyo, and then the date when you erase it or you modify. Okay? Hindi kailangan burahin na ayaw mong ipabasa sa susunod na magbabasa kasi mali sinulat mo. No. Hindi rin pinaparenthesis, ha? Minsan may nakikita ako, hindi na open and close parenthesis. No. Just draw a line over the word or words, and then you sign it, and then write the date when you did the change. Clear? So let's take a look at this patient. So if you look at this, clinically, may mga parang abfraction on the cervical area. It looks like there is crown fracture on tooth 4-4, and then the lower molars are crossbite, using our dental examination. Okay, and then it is supported with a panoramic radiograph. And with this one, you can view that the molars is not only buccally crossbite, but mesially inclined also. This one, okay? And you have your crown fracture here that has extended and exposed the pulp cavity, diba? It can either be endo or exo. Correct. So with this view, more or less, your mind is already running what the patient has, diagnosis, and your plan of treatment. So this one is a prosto case because after removing those mesially inclined molars, then you can design your denture more effectively, no? Better design. But as what we've said, our dental patients should be seen medically. Ito palang meron si patient. Okay? So, dear doctors, yan. Because based on your medical history taking, these are the conditions the patient has. Valvular heart disease, diabetes mellitus. Patient is taking Coumadin. Coumadin plus is anticoagulant. So it prevents coagulation of the blood in order to have a good circulation because of the heart condition. And even the liver is affected. So, liver cirrhosis, okay? So, madami ring medications that I did not write it down, but if you can see, yan ang kanyang medication. Sartan, Coumadin, basic, meron din siyang mga gout, etc. Okay. So with this one, definitely, ipa-clear nyo muna yung patient. And this is how you write your referral letter asking for medical clearance. So if you don't know the specific name of the doctor or doctors, you just write the generic, dear doctors. Referring to you patient, you write the age, you write the gender, 61 male, and what do you want for medical clearance before and to undergo dental procedure under general anesthesia. So dito pa lang, based on your initial assessment, treatment planning, you're thinking of doing the dental procedures under GA. Para pagka-clear siya ni patient, alam ni doctor na i-GA mo si patient. Hindi lang chair side, na LA lang. Okay? So based on your dental assessment, may cervical abrasions, may caries, may periodontitis, may tooth fracture, and what's your plan? Right? So tooth filling, dip scaling, tooth extraction under GA, and yan, prophylactic antibiotics. So antibiotics, which we will discuss siguro on the second part, is not only given after your dental procedure or to treat an existing infection, but antibiotics can be given prophylactically. So when you say prophylactic, there's no infection yet, but you are preventing the risk of infection. And this is given before you start your procedure. So that's part of your planning. You know that your patient is at risk of having this infection. So uunahan mo na before you start. Then the patient is to take it 1 hour before the procedure. So you write it down. Kasi minsan, the doctors would even suggest what medication to give. So ikaw, ang plano mo, to give your ampicillin, IV. Amoxicillin is oral, ampicillin is intravenous. Okay? And then post-operative, these are also the medicines that you plan to give. Okay, continue the antibiotics, oral dose, celecoxib, tranexamic acid, and your mouth rinse, etc., etc. Okay, this is your concern. Can also inform the patient, is there a need to discontinue the Coumadin? We never advise the patient to stop taking Coumadin or aspirin. Hindi tayo yon. It is the decision of the doctor if he will let the patient stop the Coumadin or aspirin. May mga doctors na hindi pinapay-stop, may mga doctors na pinapay-stop. Right? Okay. Yan. You have to take note of this, class. If the patient is taking Coumadin, you request for the PT, or thrombin time, the PTT, and the INR. And you should know how to interpret your lab exams. Hindi lang basta nagre-request kayo, but you also know how to interpret if the values will be within the acceptable value to do your surgical procedures. Are you still with me, class? Okay, actually, if you are dealing with geriatric patients, 65, 60 to 65, part of the protocol, merong lab test na dapat sila. Pero yun nga, in the Philippines, we don't usually do those protocol because of financial reasons. Not everyone can afford to have this protocol. Diba? Pero if you will be strict in the implementation of this protocol, lahat ng geriatric dapat. Pero tayo kasi symptomatic lang. Kung sino lang meron. Kasi sometimes there are underlying conditions that the patient doesn't even know. Okay? So you can request for this. Or ask the doctor also if there are modifications on the proposed prophylactic antibiotics as well as the post-operative medications. Right? So kindly call, etc., etc., and then you sign your name, then you write your license number. Okay. What is this ASA classification? Okay, so sabi natin, your patient should be ASA 1 only. Pero I allowed na rin mga ASA 2 to a certain degree. Okay. ASA or PS, Physical Status Classification. This was formulated by the American Society of Anesthesiologists. So it is the anesthesiologist group who formulated this classification, and it is being used globally in the medical and dental field. Kaya universal yan. Pag sinabi ng isa, dapat naiintindihan mo kung ano yun. Okay? Walang sariling version. Okay, so we call it as PS or ASA classification. PS stands for Physical Status and ASA stands for the American Society of Anesthesiologists. Okay, So why do we need to do this? And we write it on the first page, correct? On the upper right-hand corner of your form. And that is the first thing that you should look at before anything else. Kasi yun yung pinaka-obvious na area. Diba? And may medical alert doon. So if the patient has medical condition, ASA 2, then you write it there. So if you have noticed siguro, no, then sometimes ako na yung naglalagay doon. Smoker, asthma, allergy, no? So at first glance, then you should know what the patient has. Okay? So this will let us know, di ba, the capacity of the patient to receive our treatment. Yun lang yun eh. Kaya ba ni pasyente medically, and physically, and even psychologically to undergo dental procedures? Kasi kung hindi, diba, then the patient might need further evaluation and possible treatment modification by their physicians. Okay, you can take picture of this one. So if you look at this one, the first two columns on the left side, you have your ASA 1, ASA 2, ASA 3, ASA 4, ASA 5, ASA 6. Okay, what is ASA 1? ASA 1 would mean it's a normal, healthy patient. Huwag niyo munang basahin yun sa color-coded. Okay, ASA 2 would mean that the patient has mild to moderate systemic, kindly correct the spelling, systemic disease. Mild to moderate. Okay, ASA 3 means the patient has severe systemic disease that limits activity but is not incapacitating. So meaning, nakaka-function pa rin si patient. Kaya lang, to a limited extent. Okay, let's take for example, no question about ASA 1, healthy patient, non-smoker, non-alcohol drinker. If the patient is in ASA 2, hypertension, but the hypertension is controlled, patient is taking the drug regularly, religiously, going to the doctor regularly for check-up, for maintenance, then the patient is ASA 2. Correct? Yan yung ina-allow sa dental clinic, sa baba, sa dental wellness center, hanggang ASA 2 lang ang pasyente nyo. And if your practice class in the future will be a private practice outside the hospital, then please limit your procedure also on ASA 2 patients. Controlled medical conditions. Okay. What is ASA 3? ASA 3 means the patient has severe systemic condition that limits activity but is not incapacitating. Let's talk again about hypertension. So the patient is hypertensive but is not taking the drug maintenance regularly. They would even brag it, Dok, hindi nga ako umiinom eh. Pagka naramdaman ko lang sumakit yung bato ko, tsaka lang ako iinom eh. Para bang ano pa, pag nagmamayabang pa, di ba? So that's a red flag that the patient is not taking the drugs regularly. The blood pressure or vital signs is not stable, di ba? Kung kailan lang tataas siya, lang siya iinom ng gamot. So how would the patient know? If the patient is not taking the vital signs regularly, wala naman siyang equipment to do siya, right? So kung sobrang taas na to the point that the patient is already having manifestations of it, saka lang siya iinom ng gamot. So that means the patient is in ASA 3 level. Okay, what do we do? And this is medical consultation is the priority. I-treat mo pa rin si patient class. Treatment means not only doing the dental procedure, but writing your medical referral, diba, is already a form of management. And if the patient would be cleared by the doctor, naging ASA 2 na siya uli, pwede pa naman yung naging ASA 2. Iko-control uli yung mga sugar level, blood pressure, then that is the time you can do the patient. Clear. Okay, what is ASA 4? ASA 4 means that it's like a walking time bomb. Anytime the patient may die. So it's a constant threat to life. Kung may aneurysm sa pasyente, pwedeng anytime pupunta na lang siya. Diba? Yung mga uncontrolled din na previous heart condition or heart attack or stroke, yan. ASA 4 yan. Okay, ASA 5 means moribund patient that is not expected to survive 24 hours with or without the operation. So let's take for example, na trauma si patient, vehicular accident. Diba? Hindi maganda yung prognosis. And the patient is just being maintained. No? But anytime, pwede mamatay in 24. Hindi na natin ginagawa. Palliative na lang siya. May mga referrals na lang sa ER yan, or admitted patients. No? So ang ginagawa na lang natin is palliative. If there's pain, then we give pain. If there is bleeding, we control the bleeding. Pharmacologically. Okay. And lastly, ASA 6 would mean that the patient is brain dead, na, and being maintained by respirator, by the machine, just waiting for harvesting of the organ for donation. Okay? So ASA 6 sila. You're still with me? Even if you take picture, you listen very well. Okay. Let's go to the other side. Column. And if you can see, it is color-coded. And we make it like a stoplight. Yung stoplight natin, it has green. Green means go. That's why ASA 1, management of it is in green. So meaning you can go with the procedure. Kasi wala namang concerns. But if it's ASA 2, yes, hypertensive, yes, diabetes. You can still do the procedure, naka-yellow siya, but you proceed with caution. Okay. So, what is SRP? Stress Reduction Protocol. Okay, so later we will discuss how do you do the stress reduction protocol, or other modifications may be needed. Now, when the patient is ASA 3, ano nakalagay? Medical consultations are priorities. So, if you're just going to do your dental your impression taking, then baka pwede namang maghintay. Hindi naman siya emergency. Okay? Because you want to control first what the medical concerns of the patient. ASA 4, definitely, yan, emergency procedures na lang. Okay? And more medical consultation is urged. And what does it say there? Hospital setup. Kaya class, kapag ka ASA 4 ka na, ASA 3 nga questionable pa class kung uncontrolled. If your clinic, it doesn't mean that you're not magaling or marunong. But if your clinic is far from the emergency hospital, then don't do the patient in your private practice. Then you can refer the patient to a hospital setup. More so if it's ASA 4. Okay, sabi natin, ASA 5, mga palliative treatment na lang, and definitely ASA 6, wala na tayong concern dyan. Okay? So, you can take picture of this one. So these are the different examples of this different ASA classification. So it has adult example, it has pediatric example, and even obstetric pregnant patients example. Okay, so please study this because as what we've said, case analysis will also be given during the final period. So we say that the patient is ASA 1 is healthy, non-smoker, and if they are drinking alcohol, minimal lang. Okay, so for pediatric patient, healthy then, normal body mass index, hindi na tayo magpo-compute niyan, tsaka kung na kayo tuturo. Okay? ASA 2, and take picture of this, mas madami, diba? So ASA 2 example, current smoker. Kaya nga sabi natin, kung smoker, automatic, ASA 2. Then you write it there, smoker. Okay? Social alcohol drinker, yan. If the patient is pregnant, even if it's a normal pregnancy, automatic ASA 2 din yan. Pag nanganak na si pasyente, then babalik siya sa ASA 1. Baka lumabas yun sa exam, pregnant patient. Minsan binibigyan ko na nga kayo ng link classify the ASA class okay, ayan, well-controlled, diabetes mellitus, DM, and hypertension, mild lung disease. And for pediatric, and dami, no? So you just read that one. And obstetrics, then you have a normal pregnancy. Okay. Next. ASA 3, yan, mas marami ng mga example, substantive functional limitation. Okay, severe diseases, poorly controlled or uncontrolled diabetes, hypertension, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, obesity. So ayan, if the patient kahit na wala systemic condition pero nag-fall siya based on his BMI, that obese siya, then that is ASA 3 kasi these patients are prone to medical conditions na. Okay? Hepatitis, alcohol dependence or abuse. So if the patient has pacemaker, tinatanong din yun ha. So if the patient has pacemaker embedded to them, please don't use your ultrasonic scaler. Mag-hand scaling kayo because the ultrasonic scaler can interrupt with the transmission of that pacemaker. Kayo pa ang maging cause ng malfunction ng pacemaker. Okay, etc. What is this? History of dialysis, ha? So, regularly scheduled dialysis, ASA 2, ASA 3. What is MI? MI is your myocardial infarction, heart attack. When? More than 3 months. More than 3 months na from the last heart attack, ASA 3 siya. Okay? Your cardiovascular accident, your transient ischemic, and your CAD or stent. Okay? And then please read also the pediatric and obstetrics. Okay. When can the patient be ASA 4? Yan. Nandun uli si MI. But if it's less than 3 months, so very recent heart attack, then ASA 4 siya. Okay? Stroke, etc. else. Shock, sepsis, DIC, and those who are not undergoing regular dialysis, ASA 4. Okay. ASA 5 and ASA 6. Ano yung 5? Not expected to survive. And aneurysm, ruptured aneurysm, whether it be abdominal or thoracic, intracranial bleed, ischemic bowel, multiple organ or system dysfunction. And ASA 6, brain dead patient. Okay? So, knowing the
Okay, question. Paano po kapag ang patient ay may physical disabilities? Okay, pero wala naman po siyang comorbidities like diabetes or hypertension. Saang category siya? ASA 2 yan. Hindi siya ASA 1 kasi may disability, may limitation that you have to consider also when you are planning for your management. So, papasok. And depending also of the disability, then you can go ASA 2, ASA 3. Okay? Any more questions when it comes to ASA classification? Ginagamit natin to ha, even if it's just a chairside procedure in the dental clinic, not only in the hospital setup, no, not only for medical patients, but the dental practice also use this universal classification of capabilities, no, of the patient to receive our treatment. We call it as ASA classification or PS classification. Pareho lang yun. Okay? Kaya marami akong correction sa inyo. Kung nakikita nyo, ako na nag-write dun sa inyong box ng GPA, no? Kasi wala pa naman tayong lecture nito. But after this one, if you're going to do your GPA, then you do it correctly na and completely. Not only encircling the ASA classification, but you write the medical alert. nakalagay na agad doon. Kasi minsan ang hirap hanapin, lalo na yung may mga allergies, no? Tapos mamimiss nung clinician or mga ibang clinicians na hawak of that the same patient, no? Baka mistakenly we prescribe drugs that the patient is allergic to. Okay, any more questions with this one? Malignancy, cancer, hindi din asa 1 yan, ha? Nasa asa 2 na yan, depending on the severity of the cancer. And of course, the comorbidities associated with the systemic condition. Okay, any more? Nawawala yung aking cursor. Okay, let's continue. Thank you for the question.
Physical status of the patient. Now you can do your modification of treatment plan. Okay, what steps to take before, preoperatively, intraoperatively, and post-operatively. So class, don't just focus intraoperative, focus also pre and post hanggang follow-up yung recall. Because you want to prevent complications medical-wise and dental-wise and knowing how to manage it. So, you know that this patient has this medical condition. Let's say, for example, leukemia is what we've mentioned this morning. Pre-operatively, you know that the patient has leukemia. So you know what complications may arise in dealing with this systemic condition. So, material-wise, clinic-wise, equipment-wise, then you should be ready on how to control bleeding. Kasi leukemia is prone to bleeding intraoperatively or even post-operatively. You prepare the patient prophylactic antibiotics because they are also prone to infection. So you know already so that you can prevent, and if emergency happens, you are mentally, emotionally, you, not the patient, are ready to manage patient. Baka ikaw pa yung unang mahihimatay at magpanic kapag ka nagkaroon ng complication si patient. Okay. Stress. Dami yan. We are surrounded by stress. And stress may be physiologic in nature or it may be psychologic in nature. Whatever stress we encounter, then our body has a reaction to it. So our body would produce catecholamines. And what are these? Your epinephrine and norepinephrine. Sounds familiar? Diba our LA has this vasoconstrictors? So, your patient is already producing high level of epinephrine because of stress, because of existing medical conditions. Tapos magdadagdag ka pa ng epinephrine. Hindi ka pa magko-compute ng maximum dose. So complications may arise, di ba? Because of that one can increase the workload of the cardiovascular system. Okay. Patient has angina. Angina, chest pain. Angina is chest pain. Angina is asa 4 if it's unstable. Take note, class, nasa book. But if the angina is stable, asa 3, okay? Cleared si patient, clear naman. Then you did your procedure, the stress goes with it. Then on the dental chair, stable, But because of stress, apprehension, anxiety, then patient may have chest discomfort and arrhythmia, huminto, pulse. If the patient has heart failure, then patient may experience pulmonary edema, asthma. Ayan, asthma, sabi ko nga, di ba? Recent attack, reject na lang natin. Okay? Pero kung matagal na attack, sige, acceptable as your partner. Why? Because it can trigger, stress can trigger acute respiratory distress, and even epileptic patients, stress may trigger seizure. Mag-convulse si pasyente sa dental chair nyo. But these things can be managed naman. Here, asa 1 patient, Doc, sabi nyo green, asa 1, go lang. Pero hindi rin, because even if healthy asa 1 patient, Pero if they undergo stress, pwedeng nagha-hyperventilate. Bilis ng breathing ng patient. Okay? Or nagsisyncope. What is syncope? Nahihimatay. So here, even as a one patient can encounter medical emergencies. Okay. So what is this stress reduction protocol? So kahit na asawan si patient, sige, pwede pa rin natin i-practice yung stress reduction protocol so that they won't faint, lose consciousness, or hyperventilate. Right? So knowing and recognize who are these patients at risk, medical risk, and with anxiety. So the question is the patient capable physically and psychologically? So this time, it's not only medical, kanina medical history tayo, but this time, physically and psychologically, can they tolerate the procedure in relative safety, the stresses involved in your proposed treatment? Kaya nga, class, when you are talking to your patient, you build rapport. Diba? Anxious yan eh. Bubunutan mo, i-injectionan mo. Diba? There is a form of anxiety that goes with it. So, be honest to them. You tell them that it will be painful, but you advise them and you talk to your patient while doing your injections para at least sila. Okay, does the patient represent a greater risk? May morbidity ba or mortality than normal during the treatment? Okay, is there a need to modify? Diba? And here's the next question. Is the risk too great that you cannot do the procedure chairside? Nakakailangan ni patient EGA. Diba? So, patients, dental treatment, kahit na scaling lang yan, because there are patients who have dental phobia, then they would be more comfortable if you do it when they are asleep or sedated. Diba? So you can modify your approach. You can supplement your LA with sedation or with general anesthesia. Okay, so with this one, again, medical consultation may be needed. A request for additional information concerning a specific patient or disease process. And medical consultation will aid us in determining the degree of risk. Pag bumalik yung clearance ni patient, nakalagay doon low risk, moderate risk, or high risk, and the doctor will have an advice, what to do, how to do your dental procedure, and is there a need for therapy modifications. Okay, let's take a look at this patient again. Another patient. Okay, this is a referral. So dentally, ito may root fragment. Okay, dito may class 2 caries. Just by this view, this is root fragment, this is badly carious, this is root fragment. Eh, may attrition siya dito. Naman. Eh, may attrition din siya dito. Okay, so with this view, you have an idea which teeth are for extraction or which teeth would be indicated for resto, or the patient would need scaling because of those deposits, and request for panoramic. Okay, this is the root fragment, right? This was the root fragment. This is the badly carious. This is the root fragment. This is the class 2. But aside from that, there are more information that we see. Diba? This is mobile actually. Mobile, perio. Okay, here you have your proximal caries. Here definitely you can see the proximal caries. What else? I think this is also perio. If I remember it correctly, this is also perio. So more or less, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 for extraction. So based on this assessment, clinically and radiography. Okay. If this is your referral from the doctor, Sabi, Dear Dr. Balanan, referring patient for dental evaluation and clearance. So this time class, the medical doctor is asking clearance from the dental. Bakit? Why? Because the patient is to undergo liver transplant. So we said, if the patient would be receiving organ, remove those possible source of infection in the future because the patient will be under immunosuppressant and any infection, diba, may cause exaggerated infection and difficulty of management of the said infection. Okay, huwag yung gagalawin ng pasyente during this stage. Kasi ang sabi lang ni doctor sa inyo is what? Dental evaluation. Evaluate mo lang. And then you write a letter again to the doctor and you write your treatment plan. Okay, so you plan to extract this, to do scaling, etc. And then the doctor will give a go signal if you can proceed with the said treatment. Palitan yan, class. That's how referral system work. Okay, so at first, evaluate mo lang what's your plan. Okay, so sabi ko, na parang nasa 10 or 11 ata initially ang bubunutin ko. Okay, anong sabi ng doctor? Wag. Masyadong madami. Pero let's do it under GA. Para isang, upuan lang. Isang tulugan lang. GA natin. Wag. May mga restrictions si doctor. Baka hindi kayanin ng patient. Baka hindi magising. Kaya syempre siya nakakaalam sa pasyente niya. Okay, sige, let's compromise. Let's just do half. And then let's do half the next time. Okay, sige. So, nag-agree si doctor, okay, explain mo kay patient, and then, this is done, admitted. Okay? So, ina-admit si pasyente. So, the nature of admission class, I can admit the patient or the doctor can admit it for me because the nature of the admission is dental. Diba? Hindi naman because of the liver transplant, but because of dental procedure. Sige, siya na lang ang nag-admit. Please admit the patient, room of choice. Bakit? Kasi may mga preparation. Siya na rin ang nag-request. CBC, sodium, potassium, PTA, CREA, bleeding time, etc. Okay? So, refer to Dr. Balanag for dental care. So, it's very important, class, that both of you are working in the same hospital kasi dalawa kayong magra-rounds. Kung ako ang nag-admit niyan at yung referring doctor is not part of the hospital, then I will refer the patient with the information from this referring doctor. I-refer ko yan sa ibang doctor kasi dapat merong sasalungan internal medicine to work with me. Okay? So maganda na you are working together in the same hospital. Okay, so ang gusto mo lang is matanggal yung mga possible source of infection. Okay, so kapag ka-admitted si patient, ira-rounds mo yan. Diba sinasabi ko naman sa inyo, ira-rounds mo yan morning and evening. Kung may residente ka, they will do the rounds for you. I-update ka na lang. Ganun talaga ang hospital dentistry. Kaya minsan sa Fatima, or even sa clinic, pagka meron akong nakaschedule na ganito, these are the priorities. Kapag ka na-medicate ang patient, then these are the priorities. So, admitted si patient, liver cirrhosis for liver transplant. Anong concern ni patient? Prone to infection and what? Bleeding. Okay? Are you still with me? Are you following? Okay. So kung at risk si patient, kasi liver produces, di ba, yung mga components nyo for coagulation. Eh since liver nga is cirrhotic na, non-functioning, so the patient won't be able to produce those clotting factors or coagulation factors. Correct? So another doctor will be part of the team who will give another clearance if the bleeding parameters are within acceptable limits for surgery. Remember ha, they are preparing the patient medically in order for us dentists to perform our dental procedure. And who do you think is this other dentist? Other doctor? Hematologist. Right? Naka-blood transfusion pa muna si patient. So this is how a medically compromised patient is being handled. So, blood transfusion. Mag-order ka dun eh. Please bring the patient to the outpatient dental clinic. So, naka-standby na ako dyan. So, tomorrow, magbubunot ako. Gagawin ko yung plan ko. Pero tatawag si nurse. Doc, wala pa pong available na blood. Siyempre, hahanap sila ng... Okay, sige. Standby ka lang. Pero, pabalik-balik ka pa rin yung rounds mo. Waiting for the blood to be available for blood transfusion. So, one time, tatawag sila, Doc, meron ng blood. Okay, sige. Okay, ganun lang na, okay, sige. Diba? So, one time, nag-rounds ako. This patient, ayan, naka blood transfusion na siya. Tapos nandun din si admitting doctor. Nandun din si hematologist. So nagkataon during this time of my rounds, tatlo kaming nandun. Hey, ano yung original plan? Sabi ni admitting doctor, siya yung gastro. Kalahati lang muna ha. Sa susunod na yung kalahati. Kasi baka hindi kayanin ng patient. Okay. Pero sabi ni hematologist during this time, Doc, maganda yung blood na nakuha natin. Makakaya mo nang tanggalin lahat. Yun lang naman ang hinihintay mo eh. Ma-clearance si patient. Bakit? You want to do all of this. Why? Kasi if the patient would be doing the other half, the patient would still go through the entire process all over again. Anong ibig sabihin? Ma-admit na naman si pasyente. Kukuha na naman siya ng dugo for blood transfusion before you are to undergo or to proceed with the other half. Did you get it? Kaya ang gusto mo, i-GA yan at matanggal yan ng isang go para isang hospitalization lang si patient, isang healing lang at makapag-dental clearance. So may mga restrictions. Sabi ni Una, half lang. Pero sabi ni hematologist, sige Doc, gawin mo kung ano yung pwede mong matanggal. Okay, so halos walang restriction doon. Diba? Pero what was the fourth question, class? How are you feeling today? Diba? May clearance ka na from both doctors. And when the time of extraction came, iisa-isahin mo muna yan. Diba? So you try one tooth first. Pag nag-bleed yan, uncontrolled bleeding, even if your plan is to extract the 11 teeth there, isa lang ang tanggalin. Eh, Doc, sayang hospitalization. Eh, you're not feeling well today eh. Diba? Kahit ba clearance ka, kahit na maganda yung blood na nakuha mo according to hematologist. But on the day of your surgery, of your procedure, if your bleeding parameters is not good, then we'll stop. Kahit nga hindi mo matanggal yung isa kasi hindi mo na makontrol bleeding. Did you get it, class? So, hindi ibig sabihin na clear si pasyente, gawin mo lahat. Okay? So, it's still up to the patient's capacity to receive your dental procedure. Okay? So, we were able to, ayan, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kasi mga peryo na yan eh. 6, 7, 8. Ito, tatlo, di ba? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Alam mo, sabi ng patient, Doc, pinagdasal ko kayo. Siya pa nagdasal sa akin. Doc, pinagdasal ko kayo. Diba? Ganon siya ka-worried na hindi magagawa yung procedure niya. Kasi gusto niya talaga matanggal lahat. Bakit? Kasi yun na lang ang hinihintay. Dental clearance na lang hinihintay para pumila sila sa organ transplant. Pinipilahan yan. So, that is the story of this liver cirrhosis patient and how it was managed, physical status, your pre-operative, your intraoperative, and your post-operative preparation. Okay. Balikan lang natin. Let's do the physical evaluation and psychological evaluation. Ito lang din yun. Physically, can the patient tolerate it? Psychologically, if the patient can tolerate the stress. I had this patient before, anxious, bata pa, early 20s, anxiety. Early pa to ha, hindi pa ito yung nowadays na very open talaga ang patient with their mental conditions. Diba? So meron siya talaga nun. Open naman siya, Doc. I'm seeing a psychiatrist, I'm taking this drug, etc. etc. Sabi ko sa kanya, GA na lang kita. Impaction ha, bilateral lower. 3-8 and 4-8. Sabi ko, GA na lang natin para mas comfortable ka. Pagising mo parang walang nangyari. Hindi mo ma remember yung procedure. Less trauma. Okay, still with me? Itig pa. Okay. Pero syempre, when you do it in the hospital, and if you do it under general anesthesia, added cost yan sa pasyente. So, may mga iba na titiisin nila, di ba? Because financial reasons, financial constraints, diba? Hindi nila ma-afford. Okay, sige, sabi niya, na-clear naman siya ni patient, ni doctor, psychiatrist, clear naman siya. Sige. Pero alam niyo, class, 4 hours kami nagbubunot ng 2 ngipin. Bakit? Kasi ganun siya ka-anxious na parang yung dikit lang yung suction tip sa dila niya. Tumatalon siya sa dental chair. Sabi ko, nagkamali ata ako. Dapat pinush ko pa talaga siya na EGA. Pero malakas si patient. Sabi ko nga, nung tinanggal ko yung isa, kaya mo pa ba? Sa isa, oo, Dok, kaya ko pa. Pero ang tagal namin kasi nga, yan. So, placing the patient under sedation or under general anesthesia, it's not only for the patient's comfort, pero minsan comfort na rin natin yun eh. Kasi tuloy-tuloy ka nagtatrabaho, walang dumadaldal sa'yo, walang umiiyak, walang umaaray, di ba? Kahiga lang si patient, naka-open yung mouth. So you can perform the procedure very fast. Less trauma sa pasyente. May added cost lang. Okay? Din yan. So, is there determine what technique of sedation that is appropriate for the patient? Okay? So, let's go to physical exam. If you did it in your GPA. Physical exam includes the vital signs. Okay. Visual inspection, you did your extraoral exam, you did your intraoral exam. Hindi nyo na, sometimes nakikita ko ni stethoscope, pinakikinggan yung heart and lang, sige na nga. Okay, you request for function test, you request for laboratory test if indicated. Okay, what are the vital signs? So these are the vital signs. The blood pressure, the heart rate or the pulse rate, the respiratory rate, temperature, and height and weight are also part of the vital signs. Yes, weight, especially if it's pediatric patients because computation of medication is based on the weight of the patient. The height, yes, we get the height when we compute for the body mass index. Pero hindi ko na yung tuturo sa inyo. Okay, how to get the BMI of the patient. So by using the weight and the height of the patient, then you can get these vital signs. Okay. How did we do the vital signs taking, the blood pressure taking? So we have the sphygmomanometer with cuff, and we have the stethoscope. So there are actually different types of sphygmomanometer. Number 1, you can have the mercury. Number 2, we have the aneroid, and we have automatic or digital BP monitors. Okay, the mercury is the most accurate, right? But because of environmental issues, then mercury manometers are not being recommended anymore. And even in the hospitals class, medyo wala na yan, aneroid na tayo. Okay, the ones that I asked you to bring is the aneroid manometers because at least you're able to know how to take and listen to the sounds, first sound and then the last sound. Kasi kung digital kayo, then you just inflate the cuff, turn it on, inflate the cuff, and the digital will take the BP for you. Pang idiot, pang bobo ang pag-take, di ba? At least you did it, no? So kung saan kayo mag-work in the future, bigyan kayo ng aneroid, you know how to use it. Okay? And yung automatic kasi is not accurate. Minsan depende sa battery. Minsan mahina. Hindi nakukuha accurately yung measurements. But the automatic class will give us the BP and the pulse rate. Okay? But these two will only give us the blood pressure. Get it? Okay, so how did you do it? Diba? How do we position the patient? Seated upright. The arm should be at the level of the heart, relaxed, slightly flexed, and supported on a firm surface. Pwedeng dun sa table, pwedeng dun sa table ng chair nyo, diba? And allow the patient to sit for at least 5 minutes to relax. Hindi yung pag-akyat sa 6th floor, kukunan mo na agad ng BP. So you let the patient rest. And deflate, make sure that the BP cuff is in 0 before you place it on the arm. Okay, the BP cuff should be wrapped firmly, but not too tight and not too loose. And the center of the inflatable portion is over the brachial artery, and the rubber tubing lying along the medial aspect of the arm, and the lower margin of your cuff should be above the antecubital fossa around 2 to 3 centimeter. Okay, so I guess most of you, or if not all of you, did this correctly. Okay. So, what did you get? Depending on the BP, right? As a 1 with BP less than 140 over less than 90, the baseline BP is recorded every 6 months. Okay? Ang question kasi, do you always take the BP every session? Hindi naman. So if the patient is healthy, then you just take the vital signs during the initial visit. Yun ang ano doon, ha? As a 1. And the vital signs taken during the first visit is your baseline. But, class, do you always take it every visit? If it's just resto, if it's just impression taking, you don't take it anymore. But if it's geriatric patient, every visit, you take the vital signs before and even sometimes before dismissing the patient. Okay, but if you're going to use your LA, magre-resto lang ako, Doc, pero mag-LA ako. Do I need to take vital signs? Oo. Diba? So when you use your LA, whether it be extraction or not, then even if patient is healthy, more so if it's with medical conditions, you take the BP every time. Did you get it? Okay. So, frequent monitoring as specified by dental procedures, and when you use your parenteral administration of drugs. Ano ba yung parenteral? Mag-i-injection ka, and that includes our LA. Any drugs given intramuscular, intravenous, intranasal, and inhalation sedation, or even GA, you take the BP every time. Okay. But if the patient is ASA 2, 3, or 4, then you take the BP frequently, and if with high blood pressure, monitored each visit. Okay, what are the values? So, the normal value of the temperature is 37 degrees. The blood pressure is a range. So, the systolic should be 90 to 139 over 60 to 90. Okay, so that is still within the normal limits. The pulse rate is 60 to 100 and the respiratory rate is 14 to 16 breath per minute. Okay? So minsan, meron kayong slightly more than the values or lower than the values. Okay? If there is infection, may odontogenic infection si patient, may cellulitis or may tooth abscess, then the temperature might be slightly elevated. Okay? The blood pressure varies slightly, di masyado ang blood pressure if it's with infection, unless there is pain. So pain can trigger elevation of the BP. The pulse rate is elevated as the temperature rises, 100 beats per minute if with infection, and if with severe infection, it can go more than 100 beats per minute. So do you know how to take this one, di ba? So 60 seconds, round. Not 15 times 4, not 30 seconds times 4. Using your radial artery. Now, the respiratory rate is if with mild to moderate infection, then it can go up to 20 breaths per minute, and if it can also cause airway obstruction. So, summarize this: mild infection, normal vital signs with only the temperature elevated. But if you have severe infection, then abnormal vital signs with elevation of temperature, pulse rate, and respiratory rate. Not so much of the BP unless there is pain. Get it? Okay. You can take picture of this one. So this is the classification of high blood or the blood pressure. Okay. So when can we say it is normal? If the first sound or the systolic is less than 120 and the diastolic is less than 80. So that means it is normal. If it is 120 to 139 over 80 to 89, memorize the numbers, the values, then it means that the patient is pre-hypertensive. Okay, if the patient is 140 to 159 over 90 to 99, then that is stage 1. And if it's more than 160 over more than 100, then that is a stage 2 hypertension. Kaya may mga na-reject sa ibang classmates, no? Kasi for your age class, then your BP should be nandun lang kayo sa normal lang. But if a patient is middle age, medyo geriatric, then it is acceptable for them to have 130 over 90, 140 over 90. That is still considered to be acceptable. Pero kung 21 years old ka, 140 over 100, hindi na normal yun. Okay, so it varies also with age. Okay, so if you get a high reading, diba? So you can retake the blood pressure after 5 to 10 minutes. You write the time and you write the value that you got for every take. No? So if the patient is stage 1 and stage 2 hypertension, then suggest the patient to see a physician. If the systolic blood pressure is more than 180 and the diastolic pressure is more than 110, taas yan 180 to 100 or over 110, then refer the patient to a physician for immediate follow-up. Clear? Okay. Pulse rate, sabi natin 60 to 80. Palpate the radial artery, 60 seconds, count, and take note for the regularity of it, the strength and the regularity. So if the patient has high pulse rate, pwedeng anxious, pwedeng smoker, or just recently engaged in an exercise. But if the patient has low pulse rate, then it's either the patient is physically fit or those with heart condition. Yan. How about respiratory rate? So it should be from 14 to 16, and shallow, irregular, or rapid breathing may be a sign of severe heart or lung disease. And very rapid rate may indicate that the patient is apprehensive. Okay, so you check the vital signs and take picture of this one. Depending on the age of the pediatric patient, then the heart rate, the blood pressure, and the respiratory rate varies. Okay, so if you can see that the heart rate and the respiratory rate is higher, mataas, in younger patients, and as they age, as they become adult, then bumababa. But for the blood pressure, it's the opposite. The blood pressure of children should be lower than the adults. Okay? Any questions? Tapusin natin to. Okay. Another part of the stress reduction protocol, not necessarily stress reduction, the pre-operative preparation of the patient is pre-medication. Okay, so as a way of rising or elevating the pain threshold level of the patient, you can pre-operatively administer your NSAIDs or your anti-anxiety or sedative hypnotic drugs, or sometimes if there's a need to prevent infection, then you give your prophylactic antibiotics, which we will discuss next meeting. Okay, just by merely appointing the patient in the morning and minimizing the appointment time will also lessen the anxiety of the patient or stress. So ako, I limit my procedure in 1 hour lang. If I'm doing long procedures, paano lang matapos ko in 1 hour? Then pack up. Diba? Try to consider also na mahirap naka-open ng mouth for more than an hour. Okay? So if you're planning to do your surgical procedures, then appoint them early in the morning. Huwag nyo rin silang paghihintayin ng matagal sa reception area. Tapos yung sinundan nilang pasyente, sigaw ng sigaw at iyak ng iyak dun sa loob ng operatory nyo. Iiwanan kayo ng pasyente kasi matatakot, di ba? So try to fix your schedule in a way na hindi sila nagmi-meet. Ako, ayoko yun eh. Nagkukumpulan sila sa labas. Kasi ako nai-stress din ako eh. Parang namamadali ako. Instead na you are concentrated on that patient, tapos yung pasyente silip pa ng silip sa'yo, then nawawala yung quality of work mo dun sa isang pasyente. So, it's not good. Yeah, magandang tignan kasi busy yung clinic mo, pero you have to consider also yung patients, no? Comfort. Mainit, COVID, o may sakit yan, kakahawaan na sila doon. Okay, so just by merely fix the schedule of your patient, and that can also lessen the stress. And vital signs, as what we've said, you take it pre-operatively and post-operatively, especially in geriatric and medically compromised patients. After your dental procedures, lalo na kung matagal sila na nakahiga, before you dismiss the patient, take the vitals so that you know that they are stable or back to the pre-operative measurements. Okay? And so if there's a need for sedation, these are different ways of achieving sedation. It can be non-drug. Wala naman sa atin ito yung hypnosis eh. But we can do the iatrosedation. So you talk to your patient, di ba? Or you can do your pharmacosedation. You can do it orally. You can do it through inhalation. Yung nitrous oxide. Yan. You do your intramuscular, intranasal, and IV sedation. And lastly, again, consider GA. Your class, if you cannot do the GA, then you can refer to somebody who does GA. Take note ha, you're referring your patient for the sake of that patient. No? Huwag kayong matakot na hindi kayo babalikan ng pasyente kasi ni-refer nyo sa iba. Pag kayo naman ang nireferan, gawin nyo lang kung ano yung ni-refer sa inyo. Baka pagbalik doon, naka-braces na. So kung papabunot lang, bunutin mo lang kung ano yung kailangan bunutin. Yan. Ito very important. Pain can cause elevation of BP. Before you start the procedure, make sure that you achieve profound anesthesia. Ito malaking bagay to. Pag nasaktan si pasyente, tataas yung stress level, magiging anxious, tataas yung release of epinephrine, tataas ang blood pressure, marami nang pwedeng mangyari. Here, so before you start, do your LA correctly with the use of correct LA solution and correct technique, right? So let's just review. If it's a short procedure, pediatric patients, then you can use your short duration, plain lang. But if you have a longer procedure, then you use your intermediate duration with epinephrine, as long as there's no contraindication. Long duration is your bupivacaine. Yan lang ulit. Compute for the maximum dose, both for the LA, baka naman si patient, taas na yung blood pressure, you can still use your epinephrine as what we've said, but lower the dose. But if the patient has hyperthyroid, then please don't use epinephrine. Okay? Okay, limit your duration of treatment. Pediatric patient, ang ano lang yan, is hanggang 45 minutes lang ang attention span yan. Adults, yes, haba ng attention span, pero anong tolerance nila for you to let them open the mouth for a long time, no? Post-operative pain control and anxiety. So if you did your extraction, so make sure that when you dismiss the patient, numb pa rin yung area until they were able to take your analgesic. Okay? And lastly, class, the best management of medical emergencies in the dental office is prevention. That's why we are doing our history taking, we're doing our review of systems, we're taking the vital signs so that you can select your patient if there's a need for pre-operative, if there's a need for co-management with the medical or counterpart, okay, etc., etc. Yeah? So always be aware of patients, medical history who have a potential for an emergency and what type of signs and symptoms might present. Okay, any questions, class? Any questions?
Okay, any questions? Okay, so this is just the first part of the lecture, no, on pre-anesthetic evaluation. So in general, we're able to discuss, no, on all our patients, no, on how to assess history taking as a classification. And if you have determined what type of patient you have, then you can do your modification or pre-operative preparation. Okay, so next meeting, Mise, Dancel, and section 3. We'll still continue with the part 2 of this one, and we'll go to different systems of the body. Pero most likely, ano lang tayo, cardiovascular system. Okay? So, no quiz yet. So, next laboratory, you don't need to come yet, no, for the quiz. So, we'll just proceed with the lab exercise, no. Skin test for sections 3 and 4. And for section 5, we'll be performing na your actual patient, no? Your actual